So let's continue. Here we have another kind of question. This is now exercise 2 on paper 1. We have here a question that unfortunately I made a small mistake on when it came to putting it into the paper, but we'll try to ignore that. In a class of 27 students, let me switch to black. In a class of 27 students, 13 play tennis, 5 play both tennis and volleyball, and 2 do not play either sport. The following Venn diagram shows the events plays tennis and plays volleyball. The values T and V represent numbers of students. Okay, so this is clearly some kind of a probability question. That means that we're going to have to think in terms of probability. Something to keep in mind here is what everything is. So in here we have T and over here we have V. In here we are told that we have 5. Out here we are told that we have 2. We are told that the whole set is 27. So that's the information that we have so far. Now, the first question is find the value of T. A lot of people made a bit of a mistake here because when you read this, 13 play tennis, and you see this diagram, and you see a T here for plays tennis, you think, okay, well, that must mean that we simply put 13 in here, but that's not actually how it works. What you actually have to remember is 13 play tennis, but that's not exclusive. That's not saying they only play tennis. So it's not that they only play tennis. Now, because it's not that they only play tennis, because they can play other things too, it means that this 13, well, it actually includes the 5. So 13 has the 5 in it. In other words, if we wanted to find the ones that only play tennis, we would actually have to do 13 minus 5. Now that gives us 8. So we find that 13 minus 5, that gives us 8. So 8 should be in here. The next question is find the value of V. Well, here what I'm going to do is something a little bit different because I like a visual proof, or I like a visual indication. So here we already have this middle section filled out. We know that it's 5. We also already have, I'm going to pick a better color, I'm going to pick green. We also already have this circle in here filled out. I'm doing my best to highlight it. And of course also we have the outside filled up. We know that it is 2 out here. The only thing that is missing is this one in here. This is the only one that we do not have filled up, so I'm going to draw it with gray to indicate not filled. So that means that the 8 plus the 5 plus the 2 and then plus whatever V is should be equal to 27. Very quickly, you can figure out what V must be by simply saying, okay, well, let's take 27, let's subtract 8, and let's subtract 5, and then let's subtract 2, and that should be V. You'll find that V winds up being equal to 12. So V equals to 12. Via this argument here, that it all must add up to 27. So the 8 and the 5 and the 2 and the V must add up to 27. And then you simply go, oh, well, let's just isolate for V. Let's get V to be on its own and find out that it's 12. Okay. The final point is now then find the probability that a randomly selected student from the class plays tennis or volleyball or both. Right, so where can this student land? I'm going to use pink. The student could land here, the student could land here, and the student could land here. So clearly, all we really need to do is say, let's add t, let's add 5, and let's add v. And then we'll divide the whole thing with the total number of students, which is 27. And if you do the math, you find that this adds up to 25 over 27. And that's really all there is to that one as well. I hope that it makes sense. The idea being, I'm going to walk it through one more time. The idea being that this 13 here, this is probably the most critical part, is when it says 13 play tennis, they don't mean necessarily exclusively. It's not that they don't only play tennis. They might play other things too. Nothing in saying play tennis is exclusive. And this is a common trick on the IB exam, where they will very often try to trip you up with this. So pay close attention to it. If they want you to say only, what they're going to say is 13 play only tennis. If they don't say that, you have to assume that other possibilities are allowed, unless it's mutually exclusive, like obviously mutually exclusive. Like say, for example, 13 people live in the UK versus 12 people live in Denmark. I don't think that you have to say 13 people only live in the UK. But again, it would depend on the context of the question. But for the most part, there's nothing that implies exclusivity here. So that's something to keep in mind. Everything else, however, most of you guys, I think, figured out.